I think if you step back, and especially if take a not American mindset, but look at America, the most notable thing for me is, as a society, we seem completely incapable right now of solving even one problem. We're just not solving anything. We have falling life expectancy in the United States. Unbelievable. We have, of course, the opioid epidemic. We have a healthcare system that is twice the cost of any other healthcare system in the world.
Yes.
We're at perpetual war in the Middle East. We have the highest income inequality in American history right now. We have crumbling parts of our infrastructure. We know it's been falling apart for a long time. But administration after administration recently, we haven't been able to build 1 mile of fast rail. We're patching at best, but not designing anything for the 21st century.
Yeah.
And you step back and you say, that is really a peculiar political system. Put aside all the debates about what kind of system the U.S. Congress or parliamentary system, or just ask a question: can a society address real problems and move to solve them?
Yeah.
And I would say America has been unable to do that for probably about 30 years now, where we identify the problem and nothing happens. Trump said, okay, I'm a builder, I'm going to build infrastructure. That was the last we ever heard of it. It's not going to happen on this man's watch, be sure of it.
Yep.
But I have to say also, with President Obama, he gave a lot of speeches about infrastructure too. He didn't get 1 mile of fast rail built in the United States. He made a stimulus in 2009, 2010, during the financial crisis a decade ago, but it was a blip. Spend more, spend less. End of story. Where was the structural change? Where were the long-term solutions? We don't have that, and yet we're the #1 country. We run the world. We're now dictating through the international financial system. Sanctions on this one, sanctions on that one. You can't use the dollar. We'll punish you if you go to the international criminal court, and so on. As if we're running the show globally.
Yeah.
And okay, for a moment when a bully talks like that, people in other countries stand back, but it's more like the cartoon character that ran off the cliff, doesn't realize it, thinks everything's fine, and then, and that is really what this book is saying. We need a conceptual rethink of where we are in a world where the American century, for basically the reasons of the spread of knowledge, technology, capacity around the world, means we're not running the show. Where the spread of problems around the world means, hey, we better cooperate. And we really need to rethink what are our priorities. We remain with the institutional priorities of this quasi-imperial state of ours, which overthrows governments or puts sanctions or dictates to others what to do, but it's not going to work this way. When the Soviet Union collapsed, we were the Colossus, the new Rome, the sole superpower of the world. And I'm arguing it was a lot of illusion. The idea that there is one power that bestrides the world, especially one country with 4.4% of the world's population, presuming to lead the world, to be the superpower, is very naive and very dangerous in my view. It's, in essential terms, it is this word exceptionalism, which has been repeated throughout American history, that we are the exceptional country, that at this point, I think, makes us a danger to ourselves. We have ended up so vastly overextended, military bases in more than 70 countries around the world, more than 700 bases around the world. wars that are dragging on endlessly, from Afghanistan, the violence throughout the Middle East, Libya, all our drone and covert operations in Africa, the Middle East, and elsewhere. We are a danger to ourselves now
And
by
those
taking
bills,
this idea of exceptionalism in such an anachronistic way when it no longer applies.
those bills for those wars that you just described don't stop because the fighting has ceased. As Linda Bilmes has written out for an INET research report, the tail in terms of health care for the troops that come home and everything else, these are colossal expenses that we've undertaken.
I think we don't really feel, except by such wonderful studies, how much this imperial state has weighed on American society, in the budget, of course, in the unbelievable medical costs that continue through the VA system, in the amount of crisis that we're constantly bearing in places that we should not be involved, in Syria, which was another one of the debacles, that one where Obama played a very heavy role. So my critique is not only about Trump, it's about American foreign policy and the establishment American foreign policy that has gone on for decades. It's become more and more unreal and out of kilter because the share of the world economy or global finance or technology that America dominates, let's say, has diminished over time. We once were the economic colossus at the end of World War II. We were the one standing that had not been attacked on home territory except for one day, Pearl Harbor. And we were a military, technological, financial powerhouse, of course. But over time, other countries, other regions have developed. Of course, China is the most remarkable case of economic development that the world's ever seen. 1.4 billion people coming out of poverty in a 40-year period. And the reality of where we are today in the United States and where we term ourselves as still the indispensable country, or Trump's foreign policy doctrine, which says American primacy in every region of the world, the military doctrine, not only under Trump, but now for a long time, that we should be able to fight 2 major regional wars successfully. Where does this imperial global thinking come from? Now, Trump, on the surface, said, well, we should pull back, and he was even called isolationist in some ways. But actually, what, as confused as it is, so I can't get into his head exactly, but as confused as the Trump administration is, we're continuing still on the basic idea that America must dominate, that we are the exceptional country. And again, as confused as the Trump administration is, and the president, I won't even go there in his understanding, but this new trade war with China is a part of this story. China's rising technologically. China is reaching cutting edge in absolutely key technologies, whether it's 5G and broadband, artificial intelligence, the whole digital revolution. Phenomenal capacities. I say good and fine, because that means that these technologies are more available around the world to raise living standards and improve our lives. But from an American security point of view, in the exceptionalist mode, we have to stop that. The way that Trump is trying to stop that is to scramble everything about the international system, start new trade wars, and somehow try to bring China to heel. Ridiculous, impossible, self-destructive, wrong-headed, and missing all the important things of our time, like can we get our heads around the environmental crisis? Can we work together with China to address absolutely global concerns on health, on environment, on migration, on a lot of the turmoil in the world? No, we're so determined to keep this primacy that we're going to do a lot of damage unless we rethink this.